Imagine it's Sunday night. You're sitting at the kitchen table. The house is quiet. Everyone's asleep. And you're just sitting there, staring at nothing. Not because anything went wrong today. The bills got paid. The kids are fed. You showed up. You did your part. But there's this feeling, this quiet little voice in the back of your head. And it's asking one question. Is this really how it goes? Work 5 days a week, every week for the next 30 years? And then what? Retire at 70 when my knees are shot and I'm too tired to enjoy anything? You're not lazy. You're not being dramatic. You just want to know, is there actually a different way? A real way? For a normal person like me, with a normal job and normal bills? Yeah, there is. And that's exactly what this video is about. My name is Richard, and I teach what schools would never teach us about money. The real stuff, practical stuff, the kind of stuff that could have changed everything if someone had just sat us down and explained it clearly. I spend a lot of time researching why some everyday people, people with regular jobs, regular salaries, nothing fancy, end up building real financial freedom. While other people, who work just as hard and make just as much, stay stuck living paycheck to paycheck their whole lives. And here's the thing, it's almost never about how much money they make. It's about what they know. And more importantly, what they do with that knowledge. Before we get into today's topic, make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe if this video helps you see money differently. It genuinely helps me keep making these for free. Now, before we get into the topic, I want you to picture something for a second. Picture yourself at 58 years old, not 70, not dragging yourself out of bed every morning because you can't afford to stop working yet. I mean, 58, feeling good, feeling free. Maybe you take that trip to Italy you've been talking about for years, but never actually booked. Maybe you just sit in your backyard on a Tuesday morning with a cup of coffee, watching your grandkids run around in the grass. And the reason you're sitting there on a Tuesday morning isn't because you took a vacation day. It's because you don't have to be anywhere. You don't have a boss waiting on you. You don't have a clock to punch. You're done. On your own terms. Early. Now, I know that might sound like a dream right now, but it's not a dream. It's a math problem. And some very ordinary people, nurses, teachers, truck drivers, construction workers, have already solved it. Not because they won the lottery, not because they had rich parents or some secret tip from a Wall Street friend, but because somebody showed them one simple thing about how money works, and they paid attention. But here's where things get interesting. Let me ask you something. When you were in school, did anyone ever teach you about the stock market? Did anyone sit you down and say, hey, here's how this thing actually works? Here's what it does. Here's what to expect. No, me neither. Most of us left school knowing how to do long division, but having absolutely no idea how to grow our money. And that gap, that missing piece of knowledge, ends up costing a lot of people a fortune over their lifetime. So let me fill in that gap right now, because there is a pattern in the stock market. A real, documented, repeatable pattern. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Here's the simple version. Every 8 to 10 years or so, the stock market has what's called a crash. That just means prices drop a lot. We're not talking about a small dip, like when your account goes down a little and then bounces back the next week. We're talking big drops, like 30, 40, sometimes even 50% of the value just gone in a matter of months. It happened in 1987. It happened in 2000. It happened in 2008. It happened again in 2020 when COVID hit. These are real events that real people lived through and watched their savings shrink in real time. But here's the part that changes everything. Every single time that happened, every single crash in over 100 years of stock market history, the market came back. Every time, without one single exception. And not only did it come back, it went even higher than it was before the crash. So the pattern looks like this. Prices go up, then they crash down hard, then they recover. Then they hit a brand new all-time high, then they go up some more, then they crash again, then they recover again, then another new all-time high over and over and over again for more than a century. That's it. That's the pattern. Now, here's where most people get hurt. And I want you to really pay attention to this part because this is where the difference between building wealth and losing it usually happens. When a crash is actually occurring, when it's happening right now in real time, it does not feel like a pattern. It doesn't feel like a temporary dip that will recover. It feels like a disaster. The news is running scary headlines around the clock. Your coworkers are panicking in the break room. Your brother-in-law is calling you and saying, pull everything out before you lose it all. And so most people do exactly the wrong thing. They sell. They look at their account balance, see a big, scary red number, and they pull their money out. And by doing that, they turn a temporary drop into a permanent loss. They locked it in, and then they sit on the sidelines, too scared to get back in. And they watch the recovery happen without them. Think about it like this. Imagine your favorite store. Let's say it's a big electronics store. And one day, you walk past, and there's a giant sign in the window, 40% off everything in the store, today only. Now, normally you'd run in, right? But what if there was a long line outside and people were grumbling and the news was saying the economy was bad? Would you leave? Most people do. They get spooked by the atmosphere and they walk away from the discount. And then a few months later, when everything calms down and the sale is over, they come back and pay full price. That is exactly what happens with the stock market during a crash. The prices are on sale, massively on sale, but the fear in the air makes most people walk away right when they should be walking in. Here's the thing that genuinely blew my mind when I first understood this. The people who built serious wealth from these crashes were not geniuses. They were not rich to begin with. They were not connected to anyone on Wall Street. They were teachers, nurses, construction workers, regular people with regular jobs. The only difference between them and everyone else was simple. They knew the pattern existed. So when the crash came, instead of panicking like everyone around them, they stayed calm. They had some money set aside and ready. And when everyone else was running for the exit, they walked through the entrance. They bought when things were on sale. And then they waited. That's it. That's the whole thing. Let me give you a real example so this stops being theory and starts feeling real. It's 2009. The financial crisis just hit. If you were alive then, you might remember it. If you weren't, here's what it felt like. People were losing their homes. Banks were collapsing. Companies that had been around for decades were shutting down overnight. The news was using words like catastrophe and the worst economy since the Great Depression. Everyone was terrified. And honestly, they had good reason to be scared. It was bad. Now meet Veronica. She's a 32-year-old teacher in Ohio. She's been careful with her money. She's saved up $15,000 over the years. Not easy on a teacher's salary. And right in the middle of all this chaos, she's thinking about investing it. Every single person in her life told her she was crazy. Her friends said, wait. Her family said, wait. Her colleagues said, it's too risky right now. Wait until things calm down. Wait until it feels safer. But Veronica had done something most people never do. She had actually read about what happened in past crashes. She'd looked at the history. She saw the pattern. Crash, recover, new all-time high every time. So she took a deep breath, ignored everyone around her, and put that $15,000 into something called an S&P 500 index fund. Don't worry about what that is yet. We'll explain it in a minute. The point is, she didn't try to pick individual companies. She didn't need a finance degree. She didn't watch the market every single day. She just put the money in and left it alone. By 2020, that $15,000 was worth over $90,000. She turned $15,000 into $90,000 without doing anything complicated, without any special connections, without any secret knowledge. She just understood one simple pattern and had the courage to act on it when everyone else was running away. She didn't get lucky. She got informed. And that's a very important distinction. Now, here's something I want to address because I know what some of you might be thinking. That's great for Veronica, Richard, but I'm not sitting on $15,000. I'm just a regular person trying to figure this out. And that's exactly my point. Most people assume you need to already be wealthy to make real money in the stock market. Like it's some exclusive club for people in suits who lunch in Manhattan, but that's just not how it works. Here's the truth: the biggest opportunities in the market happen when prices are low, and prices are only low when people are scared, which means the best time to invest is the time when it feels the scariest. And that moment, that scary, uncomfortable, everybody is panicking moment, that's actually more accessible to a regular person with a few $1,000s saved than it is to someone who's already rich, because the wealthy already have their money working for them. They're not waiting for a sale, but you can be. The sale is literally designed for people like you. Now, I know that's easier said than done, and I want to be real with you about that. Knowing that crashes are opportunities and actually feeling calm enough to invest during one, those are two very different things. So let me give you a way to think about this that might make it click a little easier. You know Black Friday? That day right after Thanksgiving when stores slash their prices and people are lined up outside at 4 in the morning? People who wouldn't normally spend money on a big TV suddenly can't get to the store fast enough. Why? Because the price dropped. The TV didn't get worse. It's the exact same TV that was sitting on the shelf the week before. It just went on sale, and suddenly everyone wants it. Now think about this. When Apple's stock drops from $150 down to $90 a share during a market crash, that is a bigger discount than anything you'll ever find on Black Friday. The company didn't suddenly become a bad company. People are still buying iPhones by the millions. The business is still making billions of dollars in profit. The only reason the price dropped is because fear took over and people started selling. That's it. Fear pushed the price down, not reality. So in that moment, Apple is on sale, a massive sale. And the question is, are you going to sprint toward it like you would at Black Friday? Or are you going to run away from it because it feels scary? Most people run away because it's not a TV. It's their savings. It feels personal. It feels dangerous. And that fear, that completely understandable human reaction to protect what you have, is exactly what creates the opportunity for the people who know better. Every time someone panics and sells during a crash, they are handing their discount to someone else. Don't be the person handing away the discount. Be the person picking it up. Here's something I really want you to understand, because this is the part most people never get taught. The stock market is not driven by logic. It's not a machine that goes up when companies do well and goes down when they do badly. If it were that simple, everyone would be rich. The stock market is actually driven by human emotion, specifically two emotions: greed and fear. That's it. Those two feelings control more money than any spreadsheet or economic report ever will. Here's how it plays out in real life. When times are good, when people have jobs, the economy is growing, everyone feels confident, greed kicks in. People start buying stocks because they don't want to miss out. Prices go up. Then more people see the prices going up and they buy too. Then even more people join in, and prices keep climbing higher and higher, sometimes way higher than they should realistically be. Think of it like a party that keeps getting more and more crowded. Everyone wants in because it looks fun. But at some point, the room is too full and something's gotta give. Then something happens. Maybe it's a virus. Maybe it's a financial crisis. Maybe it's a war. Doesn't matter what it is exactly. The point is, something spooks people. And just like that, greed flips to fear. Now everyone is selling. Prices crash down fast. And here's the crucial part that most beginners miss. When that happens, when fear takes over and prices collapse, the actual businesses behind those stocks usually haven't changed much at all. Let me give you a real example to make this concrete. Back in the early 2000s, there was something called the dot-com crash. The internet was still pretty new, and investors got really excited about anything tech-related. They threw money at tech companies like crazy and pushed prices sky high. Then the bubble burst and everything came crashing down. Amazon's stock price dropped from $85 a share all the way down to $6. That's a 90% drop. 90%. Now, here's the question. Did people stop shopping on Amazon during that time? No. Actually, the opposite happened. People were shopping on Amazon more than ever because they were trying to save money and find deals online. The business was doing fine. Amazon was still packing boxes and shipping them to people's doors every single day. The only thing that changed was how scared investors felt. Fear pushed the price from $85 down to $6. Not reality, just fear. And the people who understood that, the people who looked at that $6 price tag and said, wait a minute, this company is still very much open for business. Those people made an absolute fortune when the price eventually came back up. And it did come back up, all the way to over $3,000 a share years later. There's a guy named Warren Buffett. He's one of the most successful investors who has ever lived. Started with basically nothing and became one of the richest people on the planet purely through smart, long-term investing. And he has this one famous quote that I think about all the time. He says, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful." Now, the first time I heard that, I thought it sounded clever but kind of vague. But when you actually understand what it means in practice, when you see how the market works and how emotion drives prices up and down, it hits completely differently. It's not just a catchy saying, it's a literal strategy, one that has been proven to work over and over again across more than a century of market history. So here's the big aha moment I want you to really sit with for a second. The time that investing feels the most dangerous, when the news is scary, when your account is dropping, when everyone around you is panicking, that is usually the time it is actually the most safe to invest for the long term. Because prices are low, you're getting the discount. And on the flip side, the time that investing feels the most safe and comfortable, when everything is going up, when the news is positive, when your friends are bragging about their stock gains over dinner, that is usually the time you need to be the most careful because prices are high. You're paying full price, or sometimes even more than full price. Your gut is going to tell you the opposite of what the data says almost every single time. And that's not because you're bad with money. That's just how human brains are wired. We're wired to follow the crowd, to feel safe when everyone else feels safe, to feel scared when everyone else feels scared. But in investing, following that instinct and following the crowd is usually how you end up buying high and selling low, which is the exact opposite of what you want to do. Now, let me show you what this looks like with a real person in a real moment. March 2020, COVID just hit. The whole world is shutting down. Restaurants are closed. Flights are grounded. People are losing their jobs by the millions, and the stock market is in free fall. It dropped 34% in just 23 days. To put that in perspective, that was the fastest crash in the entire history of the stock market. Nobody had ever seen prices fall that fast, and the news was absolutely terrifying. Experts were on TV saying the market could drop another 50%. Some were saying it could take 10 years to recover. Now meet Jessica. She's a nurse in California. She's been careful and disciplined her whole life. She has $40,000 sitting in a regular savings account at the bank. And I mean sitting, earning almost zero interest, like maybe 1% a year if she was lucky. Her family was begging her to just leave it there. "Don't touch it, Jessica. It's too dangerous right now. Just wait." But Jessica had done her homework. She'd read about 2009. She understood the pattern. She knew that this kind of crash, the kind driven by mass panic and fear, had happened before. And she knew what always came after it. So she made a decision that her entire family thought was reckless. She took $30,000 of that $40,000 and invested it. She split it between two simple index funds called VOO and VTI. Again, don't worry about those names just yet. We'll break them down in a moment. The short version is they're both funds that own a piece of hundreds of big American companies all at once. Her parents were upset. Her friends thought she'd lost her mind. The news was still predicting doom, but Jessica stayed calm. She trusted the pattern and she waited. By the end of 2020, just 9 or 10 months later, that $30,000 had grown to almost $50,000. And by early 2022, it was worth over $65,000. She more than doubled her money in less than 2 years. From a savings account that was earning basically nothing. She didn't do anything complicated. She didn't have any special skills. She just recognized that fear had pushed prices way down, understood that great companies were temporarily on sale, and had the courage to buy while everyone else was running away. She wasn't lucky. She was prepared. And preparation is something every single one of us can do. A lot of people think that waiting until things feel safe before investing is the responsible, smart move. And I get it. It sounds logical. Why would you put your money into something that's dropping? Shouldn't you wait until it stabilizes? But here's the hard truth. That instinct, that completely natural, completely understandable desire to wait until things feel okay, that instinct has quietly cost ordinary people more money than almost any other mistake in personal finance. Because by the time things feel safe, the sale is already over. The prices are already back up. And you missed the whole thing while you were waiting on the sidelines. The best time to invest is when things feel uncertain and a little scary. Not because you're being reckless with your money, but because that's when you're getting a real price, a fair price, a discounted price. And eventually, every single time in history, the fear passes, the market comes back, and the people who bought during the scary part get rewarded for their patience.